This week in Pure Reinvention.
This is Katie devote with the Food Bank Council of Michigan, and I just have a quick question. How do you find opportunities to find safe spaces to collaborate and test ideas?
Episode 79, Pure Reinvention Short, Designing a Safe Space to Test Ideas.
Engage, disrupt, adapt, repeat. You're listening to Pure Reinvention, the podcast for curious people.
Katie, thanks so much for your question. It really gave us a great opportunity to have a conversation, a really important conversation on a critical step in the Pure Reinvention process that isn't one of our fundamentals, but it's an important step, and that is safely testing new ideas.
I think it was a great question, and I think it was really great that it came from somebody who is within a company who is actually asking the leader, where do we test these new ideas? And so I think if you're a leader and you're listening to these, you have employees who are asking the same question.
What I think we forget when we move so fast and have this high on-demand world is that it's still okay to have wrong answers and to be in that trial phase. Not everything has to be launched perfectly and ready to make you $1 million.
Misty, in this on-demand, right now, gotta deliver it kind of environment, the most successful companies create space for there to be a laboratory where you can test new ideas and try new ideas and see what works, see what gains traction and what doesn't. And my question to key leaders who are listening to this is, how much of an employee's time are you willing to allow them to try some new things that have not been done before, that pilot a brand new deliverable at some point in the future that is going to be absolutely critical to the success of your company 5 years from now?
This week's episode is sponsored by Willpower Consulting. Whether it be pursuing new avenues in content delivery like podcasts or developing a sustainable content building strategy, Willpower Consulting is with you every step of the way. Get a dose of willpower at WilliamRCarlson.com or at William R. Carlson on Twitter.
In that lab, I would like to add some rules. And one of them, the first one, and I think the most important, is that it's a judgment-free zone. Because that safe space isn't supposed to be a place where you're going to pass a lot of judgment. And I learned from a Disney brainstorming class that means good or bad judgment. Because just as you say, ooh, that's a good idea, you've already kind of associated the minds to focus on, oh, that's good. So let's build out this idea because we have some agreement that it's good. So at this laboratory phase, when you're really starting to test starting ideas, you don't really label them good or bad, right or wrong.
Misty, a lot of people are asking us why Detroit. And of course, for us in the Pure Reinvention model, Detroit is the learning laboratory. And when we escort groups into the city to learn, what we're asking them to do is learn from an environment who is doing it right now, who is learning and growing and developing and changing on demand. It is a true laboratory. There are things that are working exceptionally well, and there are some things that are in serious need of reinvention. It's all there.
And oftentimes you call this, or I hear it called, the startup mentality, because there's less baggage in startups. They're more willing to take risks and be quick about their decisions and nimble, because there's that hunger and excitement around it.
So while we say that your learning laboratory needs to be a judgment-free zone, we also want to make sure there is some ownership that when you're in the laboratory, you're just not doing things for the sake of staying busy, but you actually absolutely have intentionally an understanding that you are expected to create a deliverable. Thomas Edison created the light bulb, was a tremendous invention, but how many of those projects did he have that never saw the light of day? But true. He thought that every single one, when he was working on them, had potential. And so if you are going to work in the lab, you are going in with the expectation that you are going to have something come out on the other end. That is something that, even though it's a judgment-free zone, there is the intention that something will positive happen.
Definitely. And the second part of this answer we have, it's all about your attitude. Because when you're approaching a true reinvention lifestyle, it's an ongoing behavior. It's not triage.
It's an attitude mostly from the leader in allowing that to happen. I think that's so important that the leader not expect the laboratory to fix a triage situation. If you are hemorrhaging, if you have serious problems and you need to kind of go through the MASH unit for your business, that's not a laboratory. That's triage. And triage is very different. But think about the healthy company, and think about the healthy company that needs to be developing protocols and products for the future. And that company need to be in a constant state of reinventing a certain percentage of their revenue because of the changing demographics. Now, once a company is going through triage, it may need to dedicate some of its time to, once they get through triage, what products are going to be available coming out of the laboratory. But the laboratory is a separate thought from the reinvention triage that may need to take place short term.
Right, and that's kind of some of those disruptive processes we talk about that's really sort of high impact, lift your head up and look around sort of things. But it's hard sometimes to break free of that triage, being reactive and putting out fires cycle when you get so sucked into it.
If you are actually forced into triage, you've waited too long and haven't been spending time in the laboratory.
You're right. That's true. But there's so many people that are already there. So I just was going to give a little bit of advice for those people that need to break free. Even when there's a fire, really, it's so hard to do, but create time for that laboratory experience. Even if it's a half an hour a day or 15 minutes a day, whatever you can give it, but it's that attitude. So slowly introducing it back into your life in a creative way will help you get on top of it. It doesn't have to happen immediately.
Misty, I had a boss once that said that he wanted me to spend a certain amount of time every day doing nothing but thinking through what my job should be next.
Wow.
And it's the only time I've ever heard that. I think we've gotten so far away from that. Where do we allow people the opportunity to not do nothing, but to actually think through, if I need to be redesigning my work to create a new deliverable, what would I do different to benefit the company?
So that's a disruptive thought right there. Just giving you the permission to hit pause and look at those next steps.
And Misty, employees can't do that. That is one of the responsibilities of leadership in this new space, is allowing people the opportunity to spread and learn and understand, and more importantly, connect it to the emerging trends that are taking place. Because in a static environment where we're more focused on process, we're getting away from that. And we have to have people like Katie who are thinking about what's next. Because believe me, a lot of what you need, your employees already know.
Yes, I think with one caveat. I think it is a leadership-driven space a lot of the time, but I think that if there was a staff person that approached their boss and said, I want to make time for this. How can I build this into my schedule without being reprimanded for not doing my, immediate day-to-day job? I think that would really put that leader back on their heels.
I really like that thought, Misty. Where is the encouragement that an employee can step forward and ask for the space to be a part of what's next? If you think about step 2 in the reinvention process, which is ownership, isn't that what really is the embodiment of ownership? Is somebody willing to take the time to think through opportunities that exist for the company and to actually own that through that laboratory space into a product development mode and then move it into the marketplace. Okay,
Katie, we know we've gotten a little bit off the rabbit hole here, but I hope it's good conversation. So first we told you to create that laboratory, and then also make sure it's an attitude, that it's not always triage. You are working in some of the proactive approach. And the last one, and I think the most important one, is find a supportive community.
If you would like an outside community, Pure Reinvention is a community that you can engage and find that collaborative spirit. And
email us, Mike at PureReinvention.com or Misty at PureReinvention.com, or connect with us on social media channels. Either way, we're here to bounce ideas off and make it a safe place for you.
Let's keep this energy going. Remember, if you're ready for a change, make it a change that lasts. Make it Pure Reinvention.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pure Reinvention. Keep the conversation going and get alerts when new podcasts are up by following us on Twitter at Pure Reinvention, or sign up for our mailing list at PureReinvention.com.